Yeah, we've gone from individual to company to community, and now we're talking about movement. We're talking about taking over the world. We're talking about the challenges that we face in policy. And no pressure, but here to explain all of that is Chris Neidl from Solar One. Everyone, warm welcome for our last week of the night. What? So, I'm really excited to dive in here because for those of you who don't know, I feel like I'm sitting with basically like the Dos Equis man of sustainability. Your background is really, really fascinating.
Worked in a variety of different ways, sort of educating building owners and homeowners around solar energy, and got involved in policy advocacy for pro-solar policies. Went to grad school at NYU while I was doing that, and took a class on solar for development at ITP, and just found it fascinating, and developed a good rapport with the professor, and landed a job through that, and moved to India with my wife and 3-month-old child, shortly after finishing my classes, and worked there for 4 years, based in India, working mostly on trying to develop microfinance products for energy products, specifically in India and Afghanistan and East Africa. And then really wanted to come back to be back in New York City, and moved back, and Solar One had this great opportunity, a new grant to start a new program that was focused on trying to expand solar in New York City, which has a lot of great opportunity, but also has a lot of specific barriers that make it difficult to do. So I've been doing that last couple years, and now I'm actually moving on to a new thing. So that's, in a nutshell, my Dos Equis. The other thing I think I just sort of noticed, which I've noticed throughout my career in solar, is how prone it is to adaptation and innovation. I think that it's sort of built into the design characteristics of solar. It's modular, it's solid state, has no moving parts, so it doesn't require any sort of special person to maintain it. It's that kind of thing allows someone, it's increasingly cheap, so it's the kind of thing that allows someone to sort of come up with a new idea in the context that they're working in, to make it totally kind of solar that works for them. And if you go to East Africa, and you go to India, and you go to Afghanistan, you'll see all kinds of different forms of solar that meet the needs of those people. And we kind of looked at New York City in the same kind of way. Let's not sort of think that the business models that have prevailed in the United States are inherent properties of the technology, but rather just sort of successful business model. So the way we try to intervene is, we're not going to, as a nonprofit, be the installer that installs it, but can we absorb some of that effort that's required in the beginning, provide some education and analysis that you conceptually buy key members of the co-op in, so by the time it goes to bidding, they've already signed on to the idea. So that whole customer acquisition part, there's a lot that individuals can do to self-organize, whether it's in a co-op or it's a block of brownstones where you got the one person who's super, knows everybody. And so we just try to facilitate that a little bit and kind of fill in some holes so that you compensate a little bit by making that part at least easier. So even though there's all these other things that are harder to do solar in New York, or any kind of construction project, at least that part is kind of done. So that's a key, and I think that's our greatest victory over the last 2 years, is trying to invent a kind of way of deploying solar on small and moderate-sized multifamily homes that are buildings that most New Yorkers actually live in, and that's something that the private sector really is had a limited interest in serving.
What's a big change that you're seeing happening in this world?
I think the combination of solar with storage, with batteries, potentially has an incredibly transformative impact, and I think New York could really be a center of it. We're really strongly incentivized to add batteries to solar for a number of minutia related reasons that I won't get into, but that's a really, really big deal. There's so much detail to anything that you're sort of pursuing, and I think you have to spend a lot of time with something to really kind of understand how it ticks. So I guess my advice would be, is just really look at the minutia and look at things at a microscopic level.